All right. Good morning. Hopefully everybody is having an awesome Friday. Okay, so I did what I did yesterday, and instead of hopping on the power hour, I just spent a lot of time like in the Bible just because I've been going back and forth with just my headspace, and this is like not anything new. I normally tell y'all when I'm going through like a bad headspace, which it's not really bad, it's just I just constantly fight doubts and stuff. So what I wanted to talk about today is it's a new Bible plan, and it says when things don't go the way you expect it. And then this one today talks about focusing on the outcomes instead of just like the specific thing that you want. And so I think that this could help a lot of people. So it says when God starts on a plan, he doesn't get detoured. You might think that an unexpected event or a change in circumstances means the original plan for your life won't happen, but circumstances are temporary and subject to change. Don't believe more in the things you see today than you believe in God's plan. Jesus gives an example of this in Mark 4, which I just used this example for something else the other day. It was another Bible study that did this, so it's going to sound familiar. But it said one day he and disciples got into a boat, and Jesus told them, "Let us cross over to the other side." That was faith. That was his faith speaking, and he fully expected that plan to come to pass. Jesus went to sleep in the back of the boat, but midway into the trip, a huge storm came up, tossing the boat from side to side, threatening to sink it. In a panic, the disciples roused Jesus and shouted, "Master, don't you care that we're drowning?" The interruption didn't seem to bother Jesus at all. He didn't panic and say, "Uh-oh, there's a storm." He just got up, rebuked the wind, and said, "Peace, be still." Then he rebuked the disciples for being afraid and not having faith, for moving off the original plan to cross the other side just because of his circumstances. It seems that the disciples lost their focus. They stopped focusing on what Jesus had said and gave their attention to the trouble. It's easy to do, isn't it? Sure, sometimes storms and troubles come along, but they don't have anything to do with God working his plan. Don't let them scare or detour you. Don't be the disciples who thought the storm stopped the original plan. Keep believing in him. Keep your focus on the Lord. Remember what he's told you. Remember the dreams in your heart and keep moving toward them. Spend more of your time thinking about his word and your goals and less time worrying about the storm. It takes spiritual effort when a storm hits. You have to decide to keep your focus on God's promises and plans. You can do it. Stick to the plan. Trust him to make your steps clear. Keep going to the brighter side. Keep your eyes on the outcome. And one thing that I can actually relate to this today is because I'm always constantly obsessed. Like I personally, this is a struggle and it drives me crazy. And I was just journaling about it before this because it's just how my mind thinks. I want success so bad. And I have like this picture and this image of what success looks like. I have a figure in my bank account. I have this figure in my head. I have this dream and this goal of how many people are going to be successful on my team. And like, I have a specific image and I constantly have to do a heart check. And I'm like, okay, God, since I'm not where I want to be and I have this like vivid image, you put this image in my mind, so I feel like it's true. But is my heart in the right place? Are my intentions in the right place? And if not, can you help me get my intentions to the right place so I can receive that, but also so I can be abundance to other people? And I constantly have this like teeter totter back and forth. And I actually just listened to this other sermon before this, and it was talking about like your discontentment and like you wanting more is like on like a teeter totter. It's like when you go on one side it leans over to more of the other side. When you go on one, it goes on the other side, and it's never like a constant balance. Instead, you need to have the balance. It's just like we spoke about yesterday. And so many times like we lean towards when something bad happens on the course of what we're wanting, we instantly freak out. I'm 100% that person. So I'm not calling y'all out. I'm saying I am this person. When something happens, I'm like, God, I knew it wasn't going to happen. I knew I was just dreaming too big. I knew this. And so many of us fall short because we think that God's putting us through a storm that's ultimately stopping us from where we want to go, because we think that our dream that we had was not meant for us. And in sight, that's not actually the case. I truly believe, and this is what I believe. You cannot believe it. I don't care. But I believe that if God puts an image in your mind, and if you have a vision in your mind of what you want and a goal and a dream, you can make it happen. I don't believe that he would have given you the willpower to dream that if it weren't to happen. I have this really weird dream of wanting to travel the world and get paid to eat and like review places. I have that dream. And do I feel like it's going to happen? I don't freaking know. It's probably going to happen in like my 60s. Okay. I don't know, but I told Dallas and I asked like my sister, I asked my brother-in-law, we were just sitting there at the beach the other day. And I was just like, you know what, you guys, if you could choose one job in the world and it's the best job ever, what would it be? And they couldn't think of it. They literally couldn't think of it. They're like, I mean, I don't know. And I was like, oh my gosh, I dream so small. I was like, I personally want to do this. And they're like, you know what? I wasn't thinking that route. Now that you say that, and it opened up a door for them. And so for you dreaming big, but then you stopping in the middle of your dream because like a storm comes along the way is not only selfish, but it's also you saying that, God, I don't trust you. And I ultimately, like, I always have to catch myself doing this, especially in this business, because number one, we know that this business isn't easy. And number two, you know, success isn't easy. If you talk to any successful person, if you talk to any famous person, if you talk to anybody who has reached to the top, or even whatever the top is for them, millionaires, billionaires, whatever, you can ask them, was it easy? And they'll say no. I listened to something on Steve Harvey yesterday, and it kind of gave me like momentum because I posted this thing in my team page of like where there were like different actors and actresses and famous people who promoted and like got to where they wanted to be at a different age. Like one person was 60, one person was 80, one person was 35, one person was 40, and they started dreaming when they were a little kid. And Steve Harvey yesterday, he was talking about, he was saying that he had been wanting to be on TV since he was 10. And guess what, when the first time that he actually got to be on TV, and I think he said 45. I think he said 45. Don't quote me on that. I think it was either 45 or 30 something, but I do think it was 45. And it just gave me perspective. And so I wish that I could sit down and just interview Steve Harvey and say, what were your emotions going like through that time? Did you constantly battle with God saying, God, I don't trust you? And I bet you $1,000,000 he would say yes, because he's really open about like his faith and stuff. But I think so many of us just give up way too quickly. And it drives me crazy when I see people join this business, quit. But it also drives me crazy when I see people want something in their life and then they don't go after it. And then they stick to the limited mindset of, I can't do this. I guess I'm just stuck to this or whatever. And we all have the same opportunity. We all have the same 24 hours in the day. I just think that so many people don't trust God enough in order for him to fulfill the big things. I'm speaking to myself on this, and this is something I've struggled with for the past week. It's just like I've been dreaming really big dreams. I'm actually about to redo a dream board today, and I want all these big goals and dreams, but it's just not happening in the time zone that I want. And I'm frustrated because I'm like, God, are you listening to me? And why would he give me these visions if he's not prepared to give it to me? Every single thing that I've ever put on my dream board in the past, I've marked off, but it hasn't happened in a week. It hasn't happened in a month. It's happened in the course over 6 years. And so I just think that so many people give up too quickly. And then you look at your situation and you're like, God, are you even doing this? God, I'm freaking out over here. And he's sitting here just sleeping. Like he's sleeping on you because he's like, I'm good. I'm calm. You're over here freaking out, but I'm calm. And I know that we don't have God to like tell us specifically, like, hey, wake up. Like you don't hear his voice, but you can read it. Let me take a sip of my coffee. I always make it cold. Like it always gets really cold. I'm a really slow sipper. Lukewarm. Great. But I think that that's where it goes back to like having the source. And that's what I did this morning. And that's what I'm trying to get back to in the routine of, is just being really intentional with reading my Bible. And y'all know what popped up on the internet today? Didn't even expect it to pop up, and it wasn't on my phone. I don't think computers might have the thing where you're talking about something and it pops up, but I really haven't ever had that happen with a computer. I've only ever had it happen with a phone. And I was on my computer this morning and the War Room movie popped up, and I was just talking about that yesterday, and I just started crying. I was like, God, is this a sign? Is this a sign? Is this a sign that I need a freaking war room? Because I feel like my mind is a constant war room. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. But ask yourself, when's the last time that you prayed for something and you panicked instantly because something didn't go your way? And I bet you could have immediate like answers to yourself saying, okay, I just freaked out about this like a while back. I just freaked out about my car broke down and I didn't trust that God would get me a new one or God would repair this for me, but it did. And like you can name so many different scenarios. There's been times where I was like, I'm going broke. I'm losing all my money. I'm done. Like I have to go back to my job. Have I? No, I haven't went back to a job, and it's just these things that you freak out in your own mind. And so I think that and that's why y'all being on here is so important, because a lot of people don't have the willpower to get on here because they're afraid to hear maybe the truth. They're afraid to hear what I have to say. Maybe they're too stubborn, or maybe they don't believe in God. So you have to be the person, you have to be the steward of God's word, and like you hearing these things and bringing it back to these people. So when you give up on your dreams, you're ultimately giving up on generations past. And I personally want generational success. I want my kids to be successful. I want my kids to know abundance. Like that is something that I'm striving for at this point, because Dallas and I want kids in like 2 to 3 years. And I want my kids to know abundance, but I also want them to know that they can do anything that's possible. What would your kids do if they saw my mom or my dad, they gave up on themselves too quickly? That's what my parents did. And so it only allowed me to see what's possible and what happens if you just stop in the middle of your goals and dreams. And so I know that everything's not about success. Some people aren't money driven. I'm very money driven, but in a way, I'm also purpose driven. That's what you always should strive to be, is purpose driven. And so it's a constant battle for me back and forth. And so I just wanted to talk about this today because I personally struggle with this, and I just think that so many of you probably do. I don't know. But it's time to stop putting your dreams on hold just because a storm comes through. How many people that join this business, and when something in life happens, they instantly stop their business first? I could probably name half of my team, and it drives me absolutely up the wall, because I'm like, so you're saying that a little stump in the road is going to cause you to go off course of your dreams? Whereas that should be the ultimate driving factor to move you forward. And it could be like that with anything else in your life. Like maybe it's with your health, or maybe it's with your faith. Maybe something happened and you're like, you know what, God, I'm pissed at you. I don't want to talk to you again. And you haven't opened your Bible in 3 weeks. That's happened to me. You can yell at God. I give you permission to yell at God and be mad. Yesterday or today, I journaled that, God, like, I'm frustrated at you. Like, I wish that you could just slap me in the face with a word saying, you're doing great. And he can't, but I can read the word, I can do all the tools, and I bet you I'll find it that way. And like I told y'all yesterday, if y'all haven't registered or got the book, Winning the War in Your Mind, you definitely should. I'm really excited to read that, and I bet you, and I've had girls on my team read it, and they were saying like how much it transformed them, and there's nothing but amazing Amazon and Google reviews on that book. And Craig Rochelle was talking on his podcast, because I listened to his podcast too, and he was saying that he was like, I did not expect the amount of amazing feedback that this book has gotten. He was like, it is like incredible. And so I know that if he's saying that, if Google, because Google reviews are always back and forth, but if like 99% of them are positive, 99% of Amazon reviews are positive, you need to get the book. So that's something that I would definitely tell you to do. And then let me see if there was like one thing on here. And it's okay. So it says, you might think that an unexpected event or change in circumstances means the original plan for your life won't happen, but circumstances are temporary and subject to change. Don't believe more in things you see today than you believe in God's plan. And so that often comes with, like, if you are having a bad day, don't suck into those feelings and just keep going. Allow yourself to feel those feelings, allow yourself to doubt yourself for just like a quick second, and then just move on, because that's just not serving you. And I've gotten in the habit where if I am in a bad mood, or if I am like starting to really doubt myself, get in a bad headspace, I go on a walk. Walks are like literally my like meditation and my everything. I just love walking. I just went yesterday. I actually go every single day, but I just walk, and during that time I'll listen to a sermon, or I'll listen to something that's uplifting, or I will just pray to God out loud the entire time. And I know that might sound crazy. The longest I've ever gone is like 45 minutes. I was like, oh, that's a long time. I've never prayed this long, but it was like a conversation. And so I really advise you, if you haven't done that and you feel weird talking out loud to God, it really makes a difference. So please, 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 I advise you to do that. And I bet you when you do that, number one, it's going to bring your fears into existence, and it's going to allow you to have the stronghold on them instead of the fears have strongholds on you. And it's also going to allow you to have a deeper connection with God, just like reading the Bible, but praying out loud and talking to him out loud. Say that you're someone. I have a girl on my team who literally says, I don't want to talk to myself out loud because I don't. Please don't be that person, okay? Do not be that way. Please do not be that way. That's going to hurt my head if you're that way. So make sure to pray out loud and do these things. And I promise you, the things that are holding you back from either your dreams, your goals, or just being your best self, or things that are holding you back to be able to like pray to God and just all these things, stop. Like that's just not serving you anymore. You've been called to a higher level. You consistently showing up on these Zooms. You're obviously wanting something more. So take that next step and start praying out loud. Start reading your Bible. Start doing the things that you need to do. And I bet you're going to graduate to a higher level of not only success, because success can be different in so many different areas. It can be money, but it can also just be faithfulness and fruitfulness and all these different things. You'll graduate to that higher level and you'll see how good it feels and how more joyful you are instead of you depending on yourself. I've been there. Sucks. Don't depend on yourself. You'll just be left with disappointment and voids that you can't fill. The only person and the thing that can satisfy that is God and His Word. And that's why I do these things. So if you have someone to encourage and have someone to invite on these things, I strongly encourage you to do that. But hopefully that helps today, because that was something that I was struggling with. So if y'all